Thank you very much. Don't go, everybody. You're about to hear some very good chat. Just before we kick off, I want to say it's fantastic to be back in Riga. There's a little story where those of you who knows Andris Berzan? Andris, over there. A few years ago, he and I decided to do a thing called TechCrunch Riga, and we did a website called TC Riga. And it was about 8 years ago or something, and I said, we did it 1 year, fantastic. And then the next year, he said, so you're coming back for TechCrunch Riga? And I said, oh, I'm so sorry, I can't make it this year. I'm busy with something else. And he said, but we've got this website, TC Riga, what should we do? I said, invent a new brand. So here we are, TC Riga, TechChill Riga. Fantastic. Cool. Well, it's a delight to chat to Timo Soininen. I've been practicing that. We've been watching small giant games at TechCrunch for the last few years. You've been pretty successful. I have no clue what is going on in Helsinki, why you guys keep producing all these games companies. Have you only got one idea?
Yeah, the secret sauce is pretty obvious, dark, cold, and miserable winter nights. Nothing else to do.
Yeah, there's nothing to do in Helsinki other than make games, play games. We are joking, of course. But, the story is really interesting, actually, because you literally lived your name, Small Giant Games. You kept on having this small team. You were founded in 2013 on this belief, this really, really hardcore belief that small, talented teams can produce extraordinary things. Why did you come up with that idea in the first place, and why do you think it was successful?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Small Giant Games as a name was really, we thought about it a lot because we wanted to capture the idea that in these modern times, you don't really need that many people to scale a company really big. And we learned the hard way, some of my co-founders, we had worked together for past 10, 15 years in our previous sort of company, Habbo Hotel, and we grew too big in terms of people. It got complicated.
Habbo Hotel was an online
online games world, virtual world for
Early.
teenagers. But we did a lot of mistakes, but also a lot of things right in the back.
Did you feel you hired too many people?
Yeah, exactly. It's a complexity crept in. So you start having hierarchies of people, and as opposed, the opposite thing, what Walt was saying, that people started waiting for instructions, and the culture wasn't right. And we said, this time we're not going to do the same mistakes. We're going to learn from them, and basically wanted to create this incredibly dynamic culture where people have incredible amounts of responsibility, but they are also incentivized from the very start. So everyone who was a full-time member of the team had stock in the company. So that was also that it should be a team effort, that if we become successful, everyone celebrates, not just, the founders.
I see. So, but you also, you had a lot of failures early on as well. It's interesting because there's a sort of parallel between you and Rovio before they hit on Angry Birds. They came out with lots of games and then finally came up with Angry Birds, which is a big smash success at the time. You did a lot of games and eventually cleared the decks and started on eventually what became puzzles.
Empires and Puzzles.
Empires and Puzzles, yes. So,
yeah, exactly.
So, what was that process like?
Yeah, but the founder of Kabam earlier today said that there's no success without failure, and I think this is exactly true. So everyone has to do a lot of mistakes. So if you don't do mistakes, you're not trying hard enough or go wide enough in terms of pushing the envelope a little bit. So in our case, we started back in sort of late 2013, raised a little bit of money just to get the company going, started working on a casual game. And we did a lot of mistakes in terms of not really understanding who the game was really designed for, and had a lot of positioning issues and things like that. And after a year and a much too long development time, so about a year and a half of development, and then we launched a game which was not tested by the consumers properly before launch, and we knew actually that's going to fail. So, and then after we knew that's going to fail, we were hoping for that magic bullet to happen after we pressed the launch button. Apple gave us featuring, Google helped us a little bit, a lot of downloads, but very low retention and not enough monetization. But we had probably.
So it wasn't the magic bullet.
No, there is no magic bullet. Everyone knows that. But we had the guts to do the unthinkable, because a lot of love, sweat, and tears had gone into that project, and it was a good game in many respects. But we said, we have two choices. Either we try to fix this, open the hoop, and just spend all of our time and remaining amount of money trying to fix something that we maybe can't be fixed. And we said, fuck it, let's kill the darling. Let's start, looking for something that can actually take us to our original goal of getting to top 50 grossing, top 10 grossing sort of lists of the App Store and making hundreds of millions of money. And we were literally crazy enough to believe that could happen.
You were just crazy Finns, just going crazy. Yeah. But what do you? I mean, was there a lot of culture change? Because in a small team, I guess in a way, if you're telling your team, right, we're just going to kill everything, we're going to fix the problems, it's easier to do that in a small team than a big company, I guess.
Absolutely. That's one of the you're absolutely right. So, in a small team, it was all transparent. We were just literally, the 12, 13 of us, we were sitting there that, look, everyone was agreed that this is a great decision to kill it, and let's start looking for it. And then we just really got organized. Some of the developers started working on new prototypes. Me and a colleague of mine started looking for the strategy, what kind of game we should make, and game designers and some of the other experts also starting, really doing, intensive market research, so that we would have a really meaningful shot of the goal. And if a few months into that, we actually, after about 30 different game prototypes, we stumbled on Empires and Puzzles prototype, and we hacked together a sort of pretty shitty version, a client version of the game. But we went this time. We didn't, think that, we think it's good. We went to the consumers. We tested that early version with the consumers right away, and the first signals, were incredibly positive. We said, hey, there's something. Let's drop everything and let's see how deep the rabbit hole goes with this one. And then we started this journey of iterative testing with live users throughout the development cycle. Yeah. And just validating that, not believing our own sort of opinions.
So eventually you realized you had a hit on your hands. But at that point, a few years ago, quite a lot of games companies were being acquired for quite large multiples. There must have been some offers on the table at the time.
No,
were you not tempted?
No. Basically, what happened is that once we, after a year of development, so we were only like a very small team, 12, 13 people, and we built this very big game in a record time. It was probably some sort of a world record how you can actually pull it off. And once, by the time of the launch, we had really good sort of we even built our analytic systems internally, because we wanted to get super reliable data. And once the launch was approaching, and we had to learn to do performance marketing, which was really difficult, probably the most difficult part of that, learn to do digital marketing for the game. And then we raised about 6 million round with EQT Ventures, former King guy called Lars Jernov, heading and jumping into the team as an auxiliary member of the team. And after that, we spent maybe 2 months of iterating and getting some external help and perfecting the performance marketing thing. Hired the best people on the planet to run our performance marketing, and then, literally 2 months after launch, we started pouring money, millions in user acquisition, very profitably, and we knew exactly what's going to happen. And then we know that this can go a long way.
I guess that's a failure of some teams, is that they can make a great product, but if they can't market it, then they're in trouble. Yeah,
so I think and I think this is applicable for any startup out there or any young team. So but in the sort of context of games business, I think the key success criteria for us were like two things. First of all, it was a genuine team effort from day one, and it still is. That's obviously number one. But the more important sort of different aspect is that a lot of companies are fooling themselves about their capabilities. So you have to be brutally honest about what you really understand and what you're really good at, and what are the areas you have no idea of. And to identify those areas and start fixing them. And then we use this sort of a mental template of company full stack that, not only as a games company, we had to manage, game design. Obviously, you have to be really good in game design. We need to have great technical capability for client and server-side development. Then we need to have, the arts and, audiovisual people who can, create that magic. And most games companies think that that's the business of games. And this is just the tip of the iceberg, because you have to be incredibly good in analytics, data science. Then you have to learn the dark arts of performance marketing, lifetime, predictive models for your lifetime things. Then you have to be able to do financing. You have to raise enough capital to keep the ship going, create your own business models, how you run the company, and then very importantly, how you do community management and customer support. And if you fail in any one of those areas, you're not going to be successful. And I think why we're here and why we managed to, do a big sort of exit is that we were, we were able to master and tick all of those boxes and be sometimes even one of the best companies in the world in those respective areas.
So to get to that end of that story and then move on, you exited in 2018 to Zynga for. It was a valuation of 700 million.
Yeah, so initial valuation was 700 million, and we have a uncapped earnout structure going forward.
So I think it's interesting because what you've done is you've basically exited but stayed exactly where you are, with a small team still.
Yeah.
Why is that then? Why? I mean, a lot of the time you get, especially when you get absorbed by a big company like Zynga, which has been through its own troubles and trials and tribulations, but you get absorbed and you become part of Zynga. But you've stayed in Helsinki. You're still small giant game. You're still a game studio effectively. Yes. So why have you made that decision, and what's next?
Yeah, great question. So what was kind of interesting, because we grew incredibly fast. So in less than 16 months, we grown from 0 revenue to almost 200 million revenue, and run rate was pushing over 300 million at that time. And as a result of that, we started getting inbound interest from basically every games company on the planet. And we were in a really strange situation that we could pick and choose who we wanted to work with. But I think, for all entrepreneurs in the audience, I think, we actually had a very clear goals that what is it that we want to do. And we had only gotten started with this game. We knew that this game could potentially be one of the most top grossing games in the world for a long time. And we said, maybe this could be an interesting way of actually, ensure that our investors can exit, and also that everyone in the team can actually change their life in terms of revenue, and then do this interim payment, and this is the term that we used, and then make sure that we could continue as an independent studio within a bigger umbrella and reap the benefits of a future success from years to come. And we started this was like our goals, and then we started talking to all of these folks from Asia, from North America and Europe, and it was very clear that some of the people just wanted to give us money and tell us go away, and we thought it was completely strange. Why in the world would they give us the money and want us to go away? Because we are the ones who run this game we've created. We know how to operate it, and Zynga was really an interesting company because
why did you pick Zynga?
They needed us very much at that time, because Zynga was in a fixing mode, and they needed to get into this genre of games, and they liked what we're thinking, that our sort of very analytical data-driven approach, and also this very profitable operation. So and they thought that if they could block this company into their numbers, the market.
Do you think that you saved Zynga?
No, I mean there are other studios. Zynga has bought Peak Games, part of Peak Games earlier, and Gram Games in London, also super good, really guys. But we are one of the saviors. Let's put it this way.
One of the saviors. That's probably a lot of people would agree, because they had some issues, but now actually their latest results are very good and very encouraging. You yourself, you've become an investor yourself, an angel investor. You've invested in about 25 companies. You did that while you were running your company as well, so you're a busy man. What do you look for when you invest, and are you still investing?
Yeah, so that's it's difficult, but of course it's all about the people and the team. So you're really looking for exceptional entrepreneurs who have a great vision about the future, but also humble enough to understand that they don't know everything, and then they can, you know, almost like looking at that is this team potentially able to pivot and drop their darlings in a similar way that we did in our case.
In journalism, I love you. I'm so glad you're using this phrase, because in journalism we used to use a similar phrase called "murder your darlings," and what it means is basically you really like this little piece of writing or something, but you realise it doesn't work, so you just kill it.
Yeah.
So, and that's what you're saying. You strip everything back.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, and the other thing is that, of course, the idea should be big enough so it can become international big success, so it's really scalable. That's at least what I'm looking for personally.
You know, there's been a lot of talk in the last few years about screen time with kids, addiction to games. A friend of mine had a game. One of his children used a game, and the kid ran up £5,000 worth of, you know, on the game, really without him knowing, the father knowing, and it was you know, it was pretty bad. What do you think is the responsibility of the games industry to young people and to you know, some level of addiction?
Yeah, of course. I mean, addiction is always really bad, and I think, you know, this is not something that you should really try to exploit. In our game, you know, we have 0 children players. All our players are 25 to 55-year-old men and women, so they're using their own money and time. And still, most of the players spend 0 money with us, so the games are, you know, free to play, as they say. And I think the responsibility lies both with the parents, if we talk about children, so that, you know, they should obviously be aware of what the children are doing. And secondly, they should be able to control the payment mechanics. It's pretty easy if you sort of spend time and, you know, are interested in what they're doing. And then I think the responsibility on the game side is that, you know, there are companies in the world who are, unfortunately, trying to exploit the people's sort of weaknesses. And I think we've always thought that that's not a long-term solution. You know, you should try to build something that can you know, last, you know, for years and years, and sort of games and platforms that become hobbies for people. So that you can actually meet other people, like-minded people, do problem solving, play the games, you know, battle against other people. That kind of stuff we believe in.
Yeah, we've seen a progression from, you know, Zynga famously got big off the back of Facebook, and then went down again. You had then everything switched to mobile with companies like Supercell, Rovio. They're you guys. Zynga's getting in on the back of that success. The mobile phone, the smartphone, the iPads and tablets have become big gaming platforms. And of course, now we've got Stadia, streaming games, possibly the disappearance of the console maybe effectively in the future. Looking further ahead, where do you see the next wave? Google and Facebook and Apple are all known to be working on the next interfaces. Apple is rumored to be bringing out a kind of glasses in the next maybe 3 years. Do you think games companies are going to be able to iterate quickly enough, fast enough? Obviously, VR and AR didn't really turn into the big market that everyone thought it would, especially for games. What do you think is the next wave?
Well, the next wave is the continued explosion of mobile gaming. Because,
so that's just going to keep getting
bigger.
Yeah,
it's going to keep getting, and there will obviously be, once the new devices, whatever they may be, glasses or something, it will take years before they become meaningful gaming platforms. For example, you know, when Apple launched Apple Watch and Samsung, there were companies who tried to make games for that, but obviously
on the watch,
it's a bit of a dead. There's no use case for that really. So I think you need some sort of a screen inventory which is big enough and high quality enough, you know, have enough processing power to run those things. So I think, you know, this is, you know, from a gaming perspective, this is what we believe in, that, you know, the current types of games will prevail for a long time from a business perspective. And, you know, there will be companies who will try to, and someone will eventually find a new niche with the new types of glasses or something. A new Pokemon Go will eventually appear, but whilst others are trying, we just continue to make more traditional games.
Well, it's been great talking to you, Timo, and you obviously know what you're doing. So thank you very much for coming to TechChill.
Yeah, you want to play that video
Riga?
just to recap?
Oh, do you want to play the video?
Yeah,
Let's play the video just to recap. Let's have a little look and see what.
That's the in-person puzzles, for those who don't know.
Let's play that video, sir. Do we have sound?
No.
So tell us a little bit about why did you think this just became as successful as it was?
Yeah, I don't know why we have sound, but the game was really a combination of it was bridging two massive worlds. So a lot of casual gamers moving into more deeper experiences. Perfect positioning of that game. We foresaw that sort of happening, and then we created a game from a very sort of normal, let's say, proven ingredients. So game mechanics that other people have used, and we, understood what they are. We put them in a blender, and out came this.
Amazing. Well, I hope you guys all download that. I'm definitely going to have a go myself. It's fantastic talking to you. I'll be at TechCrunch events throughout the year in San Francisco and in Europe, so I hope you come and say hi. I'll be around today as well if you want to say hi. But for now, thank you very much for having us at TechChill.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.